Yeah, so the physio's role in prostate surgery is pretty unrecognised as well as there just isn't really that much recognition within the men's health or the physio space at the minute. But it can play a vital role by um, you know just trying to work those muscles that have been lost with surgery. So typically with a prostate surgery, the prostate is removed, which along with that there's a urethra that sits. Obviously, you've got your bladder, you've got your urethra, and the prostate just sits in the middle. When they remove the prostate, you also remove about 75% of smooth muscle, which is there to really work involuntary behind the scenes just to keep your urine in the bladder. So if that has lost, that just means there's only 25% of that muscle remaining really that is working there to keep the urine in. So that is when men. This is why men post prostate surgery are really incontinent, or mostly 90% of men are incontinent post surgery. And it's more of a stress incontinence. So it just means that muscle can't cope with the demand that's placed upon it, which means it fails, and that means we get that sort of that incontinence. So this just places a lot more onus on the pelvic floor, especially the urethral muscles, which men don't necessarily know exist until something really goes wrong. So what we would do is we would try and work with men, ideally pre-op, to try and scan them, to try and help men recognize and identify these are muscles, and these are muscles that we do need to really recruit, which can take a little bit of time to recruit that. As like with any muscle or motor skill, it can take 4 to 6 weeks sometimes. And then post-op, when the muscle is that reduced muscle is healing, it can be weak as well. So that can take 6 to 8 weeks for that muscle to the muscle that's remaining to heal. That can take a long 4 to 6 weeks as well. So that again, really we need to keep working on maintaining this muscle strength. So we will ideally scan again post-op around the a week to 10 days mark, and that's when we will look to see if we've still got that right activation. We'll be doing lots of verbal cues, like trying to some of the verbal cues are try and bring your nuts to your guts, or try and shorten the penis, just so men are able to try and identify that those are the right muscles, because the bigger pelvic floor muscles are around the posterior parts, which are the levator ani, and those I think we all know how those kind of work, but sometimes we don't always know how to stop the flow of urine, or how to bring your nuts to your guts until someone says this is what we need to do. So it's kind of working on those kind of muscles. But if you can see them on a screen and you're being taught by a physio who knows what they're talking about, it can take that whole process of learning it and then keeping it stronger for longer is really is really sort of effective. So the earlier on we can get in the process of identifying the right muscles to recruit, and then post-op is all about trying to build on them, strengthen them, work on the speed as well, because in the pelvic floor there's about 25% slow fast twitch and about 75% slow twitch. So that means that 25% those muscles we need for coughing, sneezing, more involuntary sort of contractions, or even faster twitch. When we're trying to run for the bus, that's when we need that quick reaction from the pelvic floor. Whereas the other 75% of it is just more for endurance, which we need for walking or playing golf, or actually withstanding a lot more endurance sports. So we kind of really want to train both elements of working speed with faster contractions, and then more stronger and longer contractions as well. So then when we do need to go and do those kind of excess demands or those sporting activities, we've really achieved and worked on both elements. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like training for any sport. You know, you need to make sure it's you know, you're training for the demands of everyday life, but also for a sporting activity. You know, such as running or playing golf. You know, it's no good just doing these pelvic floor exercises in lying, because again, in lying you're not really engaging your intra-abdominal pressure, so that isn't playing a downward force on the pelvic floor as well. So that's why initially we will train the pelvic floor, do the pelvic floor exercises in sitting, standing, lying, just because, you know, it places different forces and demands on the pelvic floor. But then, you know, once you get past that sort of stage of identifying and recruiting the right muscles, it's all about how can we then replicate this in a more functional and dynamic way. And that's when, you know, we might look at more sort of specific movements like squats, lunges, you know, like picking up something from a floor like a goblet squat, but really engaging the pelvic floor within these sports specific demands, really. I think some of the key things for us men to be thinking about in terms of how can we prevent certain complications with the pelvic floor, you know, are trying to see it as a two-way system, and you know, the pelvic floor needs to have, you know, needs to be working in harmony. So it means that if we don't want it to be too overactive, but also we don't want it to be too underactive. Otherwise, you know, it's like your other parts, like your neck or your back. If it's weak, it can get, you know, inactive, or if it's strong, it, you know, can lead to if it's too overactive, it can lead to pain. So I suppose the key things we can be doing in the gym for us per se is, you know, initially we might do some stretches, you know, to make sure you know, the pelvic floor becomes, as you know, it's not as like overactive, and before we go straight into our main sets, you know, because we don't want to just do a big run and then into some sort of like high intensity exercise without you know, consistently throughout, say, weeks, months. Otherwise that will get quite overactive. I think the best thing is to do, you know, pelvic floor sort of down training, so some sort of stretches and breath work, either after exercise, or, you know, if you're going to period do it sort of once a week, once or twice a week. So yoga is really good. Yeah. So you know, your pelvic floor is the internal part of the system, or the you know, one side of the story. So if all of the other muscles externally, like I said, the piriformis or the hip flexors, the adductors like your groins and your abdominal muscles, they all play, and they play a really big part as well. So if one of those areas are tight, then it's like having a bit of a tug of war effect with the pelvic floor and your external muscles, because they're going to want to pull on this, you know, your pelvis, and then it's just going to create all this kind of like shearing forces in one way or another, and that can actually lead to the pelvic floor getting tight as well. So actually, yeah, keeping all the muscles on the outer side, like, you know, around the pelvis, like the groins, hip flexors, hamstrings, abdominals, glutes, and the you know, the piriformis and the external rotators, they're all going to play a part, you know, because they want to be working in harmony with the pelvic floor. There's a huge element of balance involved, because you know, you don't want to, you know, over egg the pelvic floor really, or you know, do too much overactivity with your, you know, with your exercise cardiovascularly or resistance wise, if you're going to if you're going in for either prostate surgery, or even if you have any area or element of pelvic pain, because it's really going to just exacerbate the tightness and the symptoms, and that can manifest in, you know, urinary symptoms, fecal symptoms, erectile symptoms that men will get quite confused about. But that's because the pelvic floor does a really good job of regulating those sort of areas, and they actually provide the support to the muscles that help us do those three actions, like the, you know, fecal, the urinary, and the erectile action. So that's kind of why it's so important to have a good balance between the inner muscles and the out muscles. And it means that, we want to get that balance right. We don't want to just go really fall in on overactivity, or equally we don't want to just do yoga and breath work. It has to be that fine line, and that's where physio can come in and tell people, where's the balance here? Is it and we can do that by looking at the ultrasound, or we can do we might be able to tell just by assessments and palpation of the sort of abdominals, the groins. And we don't just primarily just focus on the pelvic floor. We'll do a full assessment of the whole musculoskeletal system. And a lot of people think, if we're doing pelvic floor physio, it's just pelvic floor, but it's the whole kind of musculoskeletal system as well, as it all has a fine line, and it all affects one system can affect the other. So it's addressing the whole picture, really. Yeah, that's why it's just so important to get in touch, make sure that you've got the balance right, you're not doing too much or too little, and we're making sure that you're going to be on the right track in preparation for your surgery, or in your on the right track for your recovery as well. So if you have any other questions, please reach out to Jack at Complete Physio, and all the info is underneath. Yeah, so if someone is waiting for their op, please get in contact with me, Jack at Complete Physio. All of the details are below, and look forward to helping you in your recovery soon.